I'm Tracy Sabol. Tonight on EWTN News Nightly, let's make a deal. Lawmakers unveil their trillion-dollar spending plan in more than 1,000 pages of legislative text. It's a long haul in a short race to avoid a government shutdown. A possible deal? Negotiations to secure a ceasefire in Gaza are moving in the right direction, but differences remain. Now the Secretary of State is trying to bridge the gaps. Deal with it. The Biden administration is taking a bite out of Apple with the landmark antitrust lawsuit against the tech giant. And the real deal. A Catholic mother shares the blessing of having a child with an extra chromosome on World Down Syndrome Day. These stories and more tonight.
From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you for being with us. Our top story tonight, the $1.2 trillion government funding package is out. Lawmakers say that they are reading over the 1,000-page bill, which, if passed, would avoid a government shutdown Friday night. It funds nearly 70% of the government, including defense, homeland security, labor, health and human services, along with education. Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales has reaction and what's in it.
Good evening, Tracy. The big question is, can lawmakers in both the House and the Senate pass this major funding bill by midnight tomorrow? Leaders on both sides of the aisle say they are hopeful.
When passed, it will extinguish any more shutdown threats for the rest of the fiscal year. It will avoid the scythe of budget sequestration, and it will keep the government open without cuts or poison pill riders. It's now the job of the House Republican leadership to move this package ASAP.
The package provides nearly $20 billion for Custom and Border Protection, $495 million for additional Border Patrol agents, but does not add any new funding for the border wall. House Freedom Caucus members are already lobbying against it. Congressman Ralph Norman posted on X, quote, "You'd never expect to sign a 1,000-page document to buy a new car in a day. Why should Congress be expected to sign off on a plus 1,000 pages, resulting in $1.2 trillion in spending in a day?" Others have concerns.
I think a lot of people, including myself, are very concerned that we're losing another opportunity with the Biden administration to force them to do something at the border.
It does have some concerns about protecting life, and so it does have some things in it that protect life, like retaining the Hyde Amendment, but there's other things that are just still a problem. Plus, we need to reduce spending more.
The package also provides more detention beds at the border and an additional 12,000 special immigrant visas for Afghans who help the United States. Defense gets an increase, and child care along with Head Start programs get $1 billion more than last year.
In my opinion, it's good enough to vote for and then move to the FY25. As an appropriator, we're already starting FY25 budget negotiations, and that's where now our focus needs to be so that we avoid this type of scenario a year from now.
We can be sure that there will be no time to read the text, to vet it with our staffs and our constituents, to debate the bill and offer amendments to improve the bill.
Democrats say they will provide the votes to keep the government open.
Republicans had a tantrum, fired their speaker, and here we are right back to the same deal, but with a lot of uncertainty and disruption and paralysis thrown in for the last 6 months.
Under House GOP rules, lawmakers will be given 72 hours to review the text of the bill, but that could be waived. Over in the Senate, it will take unanimous consent needed in order to be able to pass this bill with a final vote. At the Capitol, Eric Rosales, EWTN News Nightly.
All right, well, on to the 2024 presidential election. While former President Trump is leading in most national polls, President Joe Biden has one big advantage: funding. Now, federal filings show that in February, the Biden campaign raised $21.3 million. The amount of cash on hand, $71 million. The Trump campaign raised $10.9 million. Cash on hand there, $33 million. That means that the Biden campaign has more than double the money. The former president's money troubles really don't stop there. The New York Attorney General has given the first indication that the state is preparing to seize his assets. Trump has until Monday to post a $464 million bond to appeal New York's fraud case against him. Earlier this week, Trump's legal team said securing a bond that size was nearly impossible. While House Republicans are suing to force testimony from two Justice Department attorneys, it is part of their sweeping impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. House Oversight Committee Chair, Kentucky Congressman James Comer, says that he is inviting President Biden to testify in the committee's impeachment inquiry against him.
It's his opportunity. His son had an opportunity, he failed to show. Now, will the father show? Will he respond in a letter to some of these charges? So we're going to find out. I don't know what the answer will be, but I know the Biden family's in a lot of trouble, and their day of accountability is coming.
Congressman Comer tells EWTN News Nightly that he plans to present a report to the Department of Justice demanding criminal referrals against President Biden. He says that even if the current Attorney General won't bring charges, a future AG might. Critics say the Oversight Committee has yet to bring any real evidence that President Biden or his family committed any crime. So a major announcement today in the tech industry. The Department of Justice, joined by 15 states and Washington, D.C., filed a landmark antitrust lawsuit against Apple.
For consumers, that has meant fewer choices, higher prices and fees, lower quality smartphones, apps, and accessories, and less innovation from Apple and its competitors. For developers, that has meant being forced to play by rules that insulate Apple from competition.
The tech giant responded by saying if the lawsuit was successful, it would, quote, set a dangerous precedent, empowering government to take a heavy hand in designing people's technology. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken leads a diplomatic mission to the Middle East, marking his 6th trip to the region since the start of the Israel-Hamas war. He met today with Egypt's president, who is working with Qatar and the U.S. to stop the fighting and free more hostages. But is any deal any more imminent? Today, he said he continues to believe it's possible. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports. Owen.
Tracy, Secretary Blinken also warned today children should not be dying of malnutrition in Gaza or anywhere else for that matter. And in addition to Secretary Blinken's latest Mideast trip, there's a new UN Security Council resolution demanding an immediate and sustained ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. The U.S. wants the vote on that to happen very soon. This as the war in Gaza nears the half-year mark.
Clouds of smoke from an explosion drifting up over the northern Gaza Strip as Israel continues its offensive. Nearby in Cairo, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken sitting down with Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. As for any progress in the negotiations, the Secretary providing this update.
There's still real challenges. We've closed the gaps, but there are still gaps. So I can't put a timeline on it. I can just say that we're committed to doing everything possible to reaching an agreement.
Concern is mounting about an imminent Israeli ground offensive against Hamas in Rafah, Gaza's southernmost city near the border with Egypt. Earlier this week, Israel launching deadly airstrikes in Rafah.
A major ground operation there would mean more civilian deaths. It would worsen the humanitarian crisis. There is a better way to deal with the threat, the ongoing threat posed by Hamas.
Blinken also met with Arab foreign ministers to discuss security assurances for Israel and an Arab role in governing and rebuilding post-war Gaza. Tomorrow, he'll visit Israel for more talks concerning the ongoing war, the hostages, and humanitarian aid. Back in the U.S., House Speaker Mike Johnson says he's planning to invite Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to address the U.S. Congress.
I think it's very important for us to show solidarity and support with Israel right now in their time of great struggle.
U.S. Republicans have rallied around Netanyahu after Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer called for new elections in Israel.
Now, regarding the hostages, Hamas is still believed to be holding around 100 of them, as well as the remains of around 30 others. Now, the terror group wants to exchange them for the release of large numbers of Palestinian prisoners, including top militants. Meanwhile, President Biden returns here to Washington tonight after raising campaign cash out west over the last few days. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
13 people are injured after Russia fired 31 missiles into Kyiv. Sirens wailed for about 3 hours, and an estimated 25,000 people took shelter in the city's subway stations. Air defenses shot down all of the missiles, but the falling wreckage damaged buildings and injured several, including a child. This comes one day after Russian President Vladimir Putin said that Russia would respond in kind to Ukrainian aerial attacks. This was the first attack on the Ukrainian capital in 6 weeks. Well, as gang violence ravages Haiti, the first flight chartered by Governor Ron DeSantis carrying Americans has landed in Florida. One father was able to reunite with his son following the 2-year-old's evacuation.
We're very grateful to everyone that made this possible. And again, thank you to Governor DeSantis.
The Florida operation is working on getting future flights out of Haiti to help more than the 300 Floridians who are trapped there. Well, staying in Florida, a new law will ban the homeless population from sleeping on sidewalks, parks, and other public spaces. A law signed just yesterday by Governor Ron DeSantis also promises the homeless greater access to services for substance abuse and mental health issues. It would also set up designated areas for the homeless to camp for up to a year. The law goes into effect on October 1st. Well, on a much different note, the baseball season kicked off with the Seoul series in Korea between the Los Angeles Dodgers and San Diego Padres, but the league is making headlines for all the wrong reasons. The game's biggest star, Shohei Ohtani, signed with the Dodgers for a whopping $700 million in the offseason. The Dodgers suddenly fired his translator and close friend late Wednesday, accusing him of stealing millions of dollars to cover gambling debts. The translator says Ohtani lent him the money, but the story raises questions about Ohtani's complicity and the pervasiveness of gambling in sports. Joining us now to talk more about this is Doug Eldridge, longtime sports agent and founder of Achilles PR and managing partner of DLE Agency. Doug, great to be with you again. A lot to unpack here, so let's get right to it. What else can you tell us about this story and why it's such a big deal, especially for those who maybe don't follow baseball?
Well, for a couple of reasons. Number one, Ohtani is not only the best player in Major League Baseball, a legit two-way player in an era of specialization, but he also garnered, by well-deserved, the largest contract in North American history, 10 years, $700 million. Now, on the back of this, what we're talking about is purported sports gambling in California, which is illegal. Remember, the Supreme Court decision, which was a 6-3 decision, indicated not that sports gambling in the United States or sports betting was legal, but that it was no longer blanketly illegal. They kicked it down to each of the states. 38 of the states, including Washington, D.C., has allowed language and legislation to permit it. California is one of the few that hasn't. Now, what we understand at this point is that Ohtani's translator reportedly racked up nearly $4.5 million in gambling debts. And there's questions about who and in what manner those debts were paid off. The problem, going out to 50,000 feet, is that MLB has historic black eyes when it comes to sports gambling. In the 1919 World Series, from the White Sox through a multitude of games in order to get kickbacks from the mob, to Pete Rose, more infamously, betting on his own game. So this is coming at the worst time with the worst player and the worst place. So hopefully this will get some sense of clarity and clean up on aisle 3 in the near future.
Yeah, what do you think is going to happen here? What's your prediction?
Well, I jokingly said to somebody earlier today, for skeptics, this is a slam dunk. Of course, it was Ohtani, and he's using his translator as a scapegoat. We don't know that. For fans, it's confusing. And frankly, for MLB, this is like an ulcer. This is the last thing they want for all the reasons that I just went through historically. But the problem is, what we're looking at is the regulation of sports betting across the country, right? That 6-3 Supreme Court decision, and I talked to you guys here at EWTN News Nightly on that historic ruling a couple of years ago. That historic ruling didn't make it legal. They just said it was no longer federally and nationally illegal. 38 plus DC have made it legal. California, as recently as 2022, had 2 propositions on the table to legalize it in a very narrow capacity, and the residents voted against it. Here's the problem. Ohtani did a 10-year, $700 million deal, deferring all but $20 million, so $680 million. It's the highest, Tracy, the highest contract, the biggest deal in North American sports history. And I don't say that in hyperbolics. I mean that in literal context. So you have not only the most talented player, you have the highest paid player. He is a major international draw, and you're pulling on the proverbial Achilles heel when it comes to MLB, and that is sports gambling. So there's a lot of touch points and sensitive zones here in this story. I would say this is absolutely the beginning certainly not the middle and definitely not the end of this story, because it is now a federal investigation because that California-based bookkeeper is now under indictment, and that's how all this came to light.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to be following this story for sure and the issues with sports gambling. Doug, thank you so much for coming on. Always appreciate it. God bless.
Great to see you. God bless.
And we have a lot more still to come here on EWTN News Nightly, including a tour through the Vatican Museums, see a special exhibit showcasing Christ this Lenten season, and hear who the Catholic University of America has chosen to be this year's commencement speaker. Thanks for staying with us. The Catholic University of America has chosen a very special commencement speaker this year. Actor Jonathan Roumie, best known from the massively popular Chosen TV series, will give the commencement address. In a statement, Roumie says that it is an honor. The UA's president says the actor is a testament how Catholics can use their God-given talents to bring people closer to God. 5 parish priests will represent the U.S. at an upcoming global meeting of 300 priests at the Vatican. It is part of the ongoing Synod on Synodality. U.S. bishops announced yesterday the 5 priests consist of 4 Latin Rite priests and 1 Eastern Catholic priest. The parish priests for the Synod event will be held in late April. The Vatican says the goal is to listen to and value the experience of parish priests in our church. While throughout Lent, the Vatican Museums organized a special initiative so visitors can get a closer look at art that depicts the Lord's Passion and Resurrection. We take you now to Rome, where EWTN Vatican Bureau Chief Andreas Tannhauser shows us more.
The Vatican Museums during the seasons of Lent is offering a special tour highlighting key works about the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Sister Emanuela Edwards, head of the Educational Activities Office, gives us a sample of the itinerary beginning at the Pious Christian Museum.
We decided to start our Lenten tour here so that we could, if you like, learn from the early Christians. Before us we have the sarcophagus, which is unique in many ways. It's the anastasis, the sarcophagus of the resurrection, which is surrounded initially by scenes of the Lord's Passion. So we start off here with Pilate, who condemns Christ to death and is about to wash his hands of the Lord. On the other side, we can see how the story develops. The Lord is then crowned with thorns, and then he finds Simon of Cyrene, who helps to carry his cross. But the central portion is the central mystery of our faith, the Lord's death and resurrection. We have the key row. This is the symbol of Christ, his first 2 initials in Greek. And you can see he's with a crown because he comes to his glory in his resurrection. True to the biblical account, we even see the soldiers who slept while the Lord rose because they were unable. No power on earth could stop the Lord's resurrection.
The other prominent location on the Lenten tour is the Pinacoteca, the picture gallery where, among the works, we make a stop at the Entombment of Christ by Caravaggio.
We can't imagine a more difficult moment than the moment when Christ's body is being placed dead on the stone. And in fact, if you look, you can see that the stone reaches out towards us. In many places in the scriptures we read, the stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. And our Lord couldn't have been more rejected than this moment when he's being placed dead in the tomb. Nicodemus, he looks out to the viewer, and this creates a particular effect. It says to us what all the fathers of the church have always taught. There isn't a person alive for who the Lord didn't die. Nicodemus, look, says to us, he died for you. And so a Lenten visit to the Vatican Museums is to ponder this moment, to take some time aside from our normal lives to enter the world of beautiful masterpieces, and to allow these masterpieces to speak as the Gospels speak, to call us to have faith.
In Rome, Andres Tonhauser, EWTN News Nightly.
Beautiful. Up next on EWTN News Nightly, how an extra chromosome can be an extra blessing. We are joined in studio by a Catholic mother and her 5-year-old son with Down syndrome. Tonight, today, we celebrate World Down Syndrome Day. It is marked on March 21st to represent the extra copy of the 21st chromosome, which causes a Down syndrome diagnosis. Down syndrome is the most common chromosomal condition. The CDC estimates that 1 in every 772 babies in the U.S. is born with it. Most children with Down syndrome survive to birth, but often with medical conditions from congenital heart defects to eye disease, thyroid disease, and hearing loss. While there are no official figures on how many prenatal diagnoses of Down syndrome lead to abortion, one 2012 study by medical experts estimates that the abortion rate is 67%. All right, to help us celebrate World Down Syndrome Day, we are joined now by a Catholic mother and son who know the gift of one extra chromosome. Andrew Thielman is a 5-year-old boy with Down syndrome, and Erin is his mother. Thank you both so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Erin, tell us what this day means to you.
Today is World Down Syndrome Day, and it's a day to celebrate those who rock the extra chromosome, who's were born with the 3rd copy of the 21st chromosome. And it's a day to really appreciate those members of our community. But in our family, every day is Down Syndrome Day.
Tell us a little bit more about Andrew, what life is like for him, and maybe a little bit different or similar to his siblings.
So Andrew has 2 other siblings. Alexander is in 8th grade and Abby is in 5th grade. And they, it seems like my husband and I blinked and they grow up so fast. But with Andrew, because there's a delayed development, it feels like time just, like we found the fountain of youth, time just kind of slows, goes a little bit slower, and it takes his time to do things, but it makes us slow down. It makes us really appreciate the time that we have as a family, and it's always a matter of perspective when we look at our eldest about to go into high school, and we have this little guy who's in kindergarten, but still, it just really gives us that perspective.
Yeah, tell us about the blessing that Andrew is, and maybe some of the misconceptions that people have about Down syndrome.
So I'll start with the misconceptions. The misconceptions are that they can't do things the same way or as well as others, and I think that's the most common misconception. However, I'd like to defeat that, and part of that is found in the blessing that, I work with people who have Down syndrome. I sit on a board of directors with people who have Down syndrome. I work with Special Olympic athletes who have Down syndrome, and I'm raising a child who has Down syndrome. And they are absolutely 100% capable of doing anything that anybody else can do. They just do it a little bit differently, but we all do things differently.
Absolutely. And we know that babies who have Down syndrome really do face discrimination in the womb. Did that happen with you when you were pregnant with Andrew?
Yes, that absolutely happened. When I was pregnant with Andrew, we had a prenatal diagnosis because of my age, and the diagnoses came back showing a high likelihood of Down syndrome. And because of that, the doctor that I was supposed to trust for medical care instead would lecture me on having only so many weeks left to terminate my pregnancy. At the time, my older children would come to some of my appointments, and that doctor did not hesitate to talk about how we needed to terminate the pregnancy in front of them. So at 5 and 8 years old, my other children learned what abortion was. And they asked, Mommy, what does it mean to terminate a pregnancy? What's that word terminate mean? And I very blankly told them they want to kill your baby brother. And that's not going to happen. Mommy won't let that happen.
Yeah, it's such a tough conversation to have at such a young age, but important, obviously. Erin, what would you say to a mother who's maybe watching right now who has a diagnosis, her child has Down syndrome, and maybe is facing some of the challenges that you faced from her doctor, what would you tell her?
I would tell her the same thing that I was initially told by another mother who was raising a child with Down syndrome, and that's welcome to the cool club. Like, this is a very special community. We have our own challenges, just like raising any child will have challenges. But it's nothing to be scared of. It's nothing to be scared of. It is something to embrace. They'll have probably some health challenges to navigate around, and there's no sugarcoating that. But when you're prepared to embrace those health challenges, they'll be okay.
Yeah, and he's such a gift from God. Aaron, thank you so much for coming on. Andrew, thank you so much, and God bless you both.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Kisses.
And we thank you for watching tonight. Remember, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, X, and Instagram at EWTN News Nightly. I'm Tracy Sabol. Good night, and God bless.